Hello and welcome back to 1874, the podcast. It's Monday. Myself and Greg Evans from The Athletic are here to talk about Fulham 1, Aston Villa 3, another brilliant weekend in London for the Villa faithful. This show is sponsored by NordVPN, and we'll hear a little bit more about what Nord have to offer later on in the show. Greg, how are you?
Morning, Dan. Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very, very well. Another brilliant weekend for Villa. Just this team, Greg, I put it in the title, although it's a surprise to learn. This is just incredible. How good are they?
Yeah, well, they're as good as their league position is showing at the moment. Very, very impressive to just keep winning. They don't look like they're going to lose games, do they? Which is the most important thing and the best thing for Villa at the moment. First time this season and first time for a while that Villa had a full strength squad to turn to as well. And, I just think that does make a difference. I know that I have said previously that you can take a few players out of this Villa team and replace them with others. But when they've got that full strength squad available, it's going to make a huge difference. And it did at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, before we get into that, I should have just said that there is an exclusive deal for NordVPN at the moment. If you go to 1874.io/NordVPN, you'll get a huge discount off the Nord plan, and you'll also get 4 months for free. And it is completely risk-free, a little bit like Villa hiring Unai Emery, because Nord offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Greg, I tweeted before the game on along the lines of what you just said. I said that is the strongest bench I've ever seen Villa have. Would you go along with that? And if you can't, then you tell me a stronger one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think back to the the 90s maybe when
only three subs there.
Yeah, it was probably stronger then, wasn't it?
That was 9 bits of pure class on the bench.
No, look, I mean, joking aside, it was a very strong squad. Yeah, certainly from my time, reporting and talking about Villa, definitely the strongest squad. Yeah, just so many options to turn to, and I don't know. It's difficult to think. I still don't know what Villa's strongest team is now. I don't know whether that's going to come back to bite them at some point, or whether that's perhaps even a good thing. I do think if you look through, the real top elite teams, Man City and Arsenal, Liverpool, you can pick their best 11. I'm not quite sure you can do that with Villa just yet, although they weren't far off, I wouldn't have thought, on Saturday.
Do you think, though, that I take your point that Man City have got, I would say they've probably got 8 or 9 pieces, Man City, that is their best 11, and then maybe they'll change something on the wing depending on who the opponent is. Maybe one of the central midfielders and maybe one of the defenders, perhaps. With Villa, I feel like it is the same now. You've got that core that is the best team, but you've still got pieces that you can move around depending on who you're playing. I mean, Ezri Konsa, they're probably saving him for Tuesday, in fairness, but they're so good now, squad depth-wise, they didn't have to bring him in straight back in and rush him back for a Premier League game, and that isn't a position Villa have been in before.
No, definitely. Look, I mean, it's the playing style of the manager. It's what he's got. It's what he wants the players to do and how they're able to execute it. They can give up a little bit of possession from time to time, but absolutely fantastic on the transition. Probably no better team in the Premier League than Villa at it. And the players just all know what to do now. So it doesn't really matter who comes in and who goes out, because typically the players can get over the line and get the results.
Yeah, and you'll remember a time like me, Greg, that if Villa went behind, it's game over. You don't need to worry about that. You know that they're not going to be able to come back. They're not got the resilience to get back into a game. But there is patterns starting to emerge in this Villa team, even in this short season that we've had so far. A bit like the Ipswich game. Villa go behind early. Probably it was Fulham's first attack, like it was Ipswich's. But they get straight back into the game. And, Morgan Rogers obviously scored in both those games. But Villa don't get pegged back for long. They get themselves straight back into the game. But on the first goal, it doesn't really matter, because I actually feel conceding and doing those kind of things now is part of who Villa are. Sometimes it wakes them up and kind of makes them step up if they do go behind. And like I said, we don't ever have to worry for long. But is it any type of concern that clean sheets are so hard to come by, and that the last couple of away games we have gone behind early? It wasn't a great goal, wasn't a great bit of defending from Pau Torres, was it?
No, and a lot to dissect there. I think if we take the goal on isolation, that's the type of concern that I had about Pau Torres when he first signed for Villa. Didn't think that I thought we'd see that a little bit more often. Excellent on the ball, brilliant at building attacks, and has been a pretty good defender, I'd say. A 7 out of 10 defender
Yeah.
since he signed. That there is clear room for improvement. That's the goal that I thought Villa would concede more with Pau Torres in defence. So I'm not entirely surprised at that, but I think the what he gives the team moving forward offsets a lot of that anyway. And look, we don't see it too often. In terms of conceding first and conceding goals, yes, it's a little bit more chaotic than the manager would want. He wants to be very controlled, very measured. And I suppose if you ask any manager in the Premier League, they want clean sheets. They don't want to concede goals. It's as simple as that. But it's very, very difficult for most teams to stop that. I think Villa have got stronger firepower to not be too concerned about conceding goals. So I don't think that's majorly an issue right now. Villa have only kept one clean sheet since April, I think, in the Premier League, which would have been 0-0 Man United. So the previous clean sheet before that was Arsenal, which was, April. So on the face of it, a little bit of a concern that they can't keep a clean sheet and they keep conceding goals. But if you look at the XG against this season, Villa are the third lowest in the Premier League. So they're not giving up great chances. They're perhaps conceding a little bit more often than they should be. So I don't think there's a major concern because the XG against tells us that the defence as a team, not just the back 4 and 5, the defence as a team is doing a pretty decent job.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, Villa pulled it back pretty quickly. Morgan Rogers on the score sheet via a huge deflection. I do kind of feel like, though, Greg, the better you are, the luckier you are. And, yes, it's a huge slice of fortune, that Morgan Rogers shot taking a deflection, but it just goes to show you, Villa go behind, it doesn't really curtail the game plan.
No, because the team knows exactly what they want to do. That it's not going to change anything. They're going to attack in the same way. There's going to be a bit more emphasis on getting forward quicker and a bit more urgency, but it's not going to really change the plan. And the way that Villa break through the midfield areas now, we haven't seen too much of Ramsey and Rodgers together, have we? But when the two of them play, they could be really, really exciting. The way that the pair of them can carry the ball with such grace and poise. It's quite exciting to think of how often if the two can stay fit and play together, they could be a really exciting pair. And I think the better you are as a team, the more luck you're going to have, because typically you're going to get better chances and you're going to have higher quality players. So eventually the onslaught will pay.
Yeah, I mean, amazingly, I thought Ramsey, everything good Villa did on Saturday, I thought Ramsey was involved. Probably the same could be said of Luca Digne, actually. Down that left-hand side, whenever Villa conjured something up going forwards, I felt like those two were always involved. And Jacob tweeted at half-time that, the amount of attacks down the left-hand side compared to the right-hand side, which we'll come on to the right-hand side shortly. Villa were finding the left-hand side a real good avenue for success. But then you see some people say, Ramsey's nowhere near it, not back to his best. Where did you stand with that? I know he's not at his best yet. I'm not saying that, but I felt that's the best game we've seen from Ramsey for a long, long time, because obviously last season, so much disruption with injuries. This was more like the Ramsey I remember from the season before last.
Yeah, I think he's getting there, isn't he? Just he's not fully there, I don't think. We're seeing flashes of what he can do. I think he'll know, and the manager will know, that there's more there. There's a higher ceiling, and what he's producing now is just a glimpse of what he can. Just remember back to the time when Dean Smith was leaving, Steven Gerrard was coming in, and the excitement around Jacob Ramsey at that point. Gerrard, for all his difficulties as a manager at Villa, clearly a world-class player as a midfielder, and knew what a good midfielder looked like. And him and his coaching team were just so excited by Ramsey. They thought that as soon as they'd spent a couple of weeks at Bodymoor Heath with him, they couldn't believe how talented he was, and they were really expecting him to kick on. And I just feel so sorry for him that injuries have hindered that progress, because I think we could have been talking about a player that would have been even higher in his journey right now if those injuries hadn't come about. But look, time's on his side. He's still a young lad in a very, very exciting team who are going to be playing lots of games this season. So if he can stay fit and stay playing games, I've no worry that come the end of this season he'll be at a very high level again.
Yeah, like I say, Villa back to 1-1 relatively quickly, and then I just felt like, again, we look like we're going to score every time we come forward. We're playing some really, really nice football. Overall, I would say that was the best performance of the season in terms of the football play going forward. And I think Craven Cottage is a really difficult place to go as well, and Villa made it look relatively easy, albeit they did have some help with the deflection and an incident in the second half as well. They also had help because Emi Martinez did what Emi Martinez does, Gregg, and saved yet another penalty. I think that might be the third he saved. Actually, only the third he saved in the Premier League. Obviously, he saved a few in shootouts as well. I think we could probably both agree that it was a penalty, but as good as Villa were going forwards, did kind of in that first half, not so much the second half, did look susceptible to conceding. Fulham did miss some chances in that first half as well. But I think we can probably agree that was a penalty, and Matty Cash's hand shouldn't be out there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, shouldn't be out there. You could see the relief on Cash's face when Martinez saved the penalty. Really, really poor penalty.
Awful.
I don't know whether Pereira was just nervous coming up against Martinez. I presume attackers must fear Martinez a little bit going up against him because of the aura about him. His history of saving penalties. The trash talking that he doesn't do every single time, but must always be in your mind of whether he's going to do something to put you off, I presume, as a striker or a penalty kick taker. But yeah, poor penalty. Fair play to Martinez, saved it, but will probably be the first to say that it was a relatively easy one to save, if he picked the right way. And yeah, I mean, the first half was a bit of mixed emotions, really, wasn't it, for Villa supporters, because there was great attacking play, but yeah, the penalty was conceded, the early goal was conceded, so it was still a little bit on the edge.
Yeah, Jimenez had a header as well that he probably should have done better with. I think it was one of those halves where maybe both teams probably went in it thinking we could and should be ahead here. I think Villa were comfortably the better side. I mean, talking about bad misses, Rodgers should have scored. That one that came across to him, it was a lovely bit of football from Villa. That once again down that left hand side, and I think it was Digne in the end that put the ball across. I mean, he was absolutely brilliant, Digne, yet again. But Rodgers should score that. It just goes to show that these players are excellent players, but they are still learning. Some of them, they are still going to make mistakes because Rodgers hasn't even been playing Premier League football for a year. Yeah, and
look, I mean, his goal was a little bit fortunate with the deflection, and he probably should have scored the one that he missed. So these things happen, don't they? Not every attacking player is going to score every chance. Not even Haaland does he? So a good chance, a really good move. Digne was brilliant. I think Emery loves Digne, and there was a moment during pre-season which I don't think has been reported, but it was during a pre-season friendly, and Emery actually during one of his team talks he pointed to Digne and said, "This is the guy that you should all be trying to follow, because this is a guy that was out of the team at times, never sulked." Worked extremely hard when we brought another left back in to prove that he was better than the guy that we'd signed, and just got on. And he's become a little bit of a teacher's pet, I suppose, in some ways. Trying, but that is how you succeed under Emery, because if you're not sort of all in, and I hate that phrase because it reminds me of a certain ex-Villa manager, but and how he used to.
One, I can't think of who that is.
Gerard, he just used to use it all the time, and nothing against Gerard. I really liked him as a person. He was great with me and really friendly, but he just used to use that phrase all the time, and it kind of got on my nerves a bit in the end, so I never use it. But that is probably the best way to describe Digne now, because he's worked so hard to prove that he's good enough club and country. And I watched him for France against Belgium in midweek, and he was great as well for them. Really attacking, really getting forward and causing problems. And it just shows, doesn't it, that if you work hard, and sorry to go back to my point previously, if you're not all in with Emery, you won't succeed, because he needs full commitment. The worst feeling for him is having a footballer who just doesn't care about development and doesn't feel the passion to go out and play and perform. But Luca Digne really does, and that's why he succeeded.
Experienced pro as well. It's not like he's at the start of his career looking to improve, and like young players do, and learning. He shows that however old you are, there's still room for improvement. There's still, if you buy in, you can still improve as a footballer. He'd already played at a really, really high level. He's now part of a Villa team that's playing at a really, really high level as well. Jacob's done an article about him this morning. I won't spoil it, but Jacob has done an article about Luca Digne for Athletic subscribers if you do want to go and read all about it. Jonathan Caracas here has said about Leon Bailey's been very poor this year, like his first year with us. It's worrying a bit. I gotta say, in the first half, I found myself getting a little bit frustrated. I do think there's caveats with him. I don't think he's fully fit. I do think he's been carrying injuries, and at times, when Villa have had injuries already this season, I think he's played through the pain barrier so that Villa can get a competitive team out, and I think he deserves credit for that. But you are watching him, and he does feel a bit like the Bailey from the first few seasons, where he's spending a lot of time on the floor getting treatment. It's not quite coming off for him. There was more glimpses in this Fulham game, I think, than there has been in games previous of the Bailey of last season. But overall, what are you making of him?
I'd like to really find out his level of fitness. I mean, he looks to me like he's a player that's carrying some issues, that there are some niggles. I mean, I don't know. I need to find that out. But and sometimes you just don't find out these things, because players want to keep their issues private. And sometimes even the medical team and the management team don't know, because the player desperately wants to play, so he's playing through various pain or injections or whatever. Now, I don't know is the answer of his physical situation, but he doesn't look fully fit to me. The difference, I think, with Bailey, if we're looking at the comparisons to his first and second seasons, is that his application was an issue previously. Wasn't training as hard as he should have been, wasn't putting it in, wasn't putting the work in on a match day, wasn't running as hard. We've seen last year that when he works hard and when the application's right, he can succeed and he thrives. And he's obviously got unbelievable talent as well, which will come out regardless. So there's no real concern about his work ethic, whereas previously there was. I think he just needs a bit of time, hopefully, to just get back up and running, because he's lost a little bit of his momentum.
Yeah, he was so productive last season in terms of goals.
And look, sorry, Dean and Liz just put a comment in the comment section there. He was best off the bench last year, and that's a very valid point. Having Diaby there to really wear down defenders, which we didn't focus on too much, because Diaby was so hit and miss in terms of his performances. The fact that he was a constant threat with his pace and his trickery, that would wear down defenders both physically and mentally. They knew they could never switch off with him, because in a flash he could change the game. So often he would wear down teams in that respect, and Bailey would come off the bench and he'd have his moments of magic and look like a world beater almost. But yeah, perhaps he's missing him at this moment.
I mean, I do think as well that sometimes I don't think he is fit. That's my opinion. I do know there was one game where he definitely played with an injury, but I don't know if it's been a prolonged thing. But I do know that there was one game where he did play through the pain barrier. But I do think as well with him that it's just a case of sometimes a player just needs an assist or needs a goal. I don't think he's got one this season in terms of a goal or an assist, and sometimes that will just do him a world of good if he just bends one in and he goes in the top corner and he suddenly starts flying again. I do think sometimes he needs that bit of confidence, Leon Bailey.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, I do think he needs to be pushed as well. I think he benefited from knowing that Diaby was there and that he really had to work hard to get a place. And I know they did, but it was all they very rarely played together. If you look back at it, they rarely played at the
Yeah,
same
yeah, that's
time, so
fair.
it was always one or the
Yeah,
other.
that's fair.
And it
Yeah.
was a case of, he knew if Diaby was playing pretty well, then he perhaps wouldn't be playing, even though they did play in different positions. I get that. Whereas you look at Ollie Watkins, for example, which is funny, I'm going to say this because he couldn't have had any more serious competition now with Duran knocking on the door so much. But when Danny Ings was signed, it put his nose out of joint a little bit because he thought, look, well, I'm the guy for Villa, but now I'm really concerned, especially with Steven Gerrard coming in, him from Liverpool, etc. And if some players react differently to competition, but I think we'll still see it from Bailey this year. I think give him time, but at the moment it's just not as free flowing as we would like.
Yeah, a few people correcting me. Of course, I've got something wrong in the chat because Bailey did get an assist a few weeks ago against Ipswich. No goals though, Greg. No goal. I retract what I said, and I'll say he just needs a goal. He just needs a goal. Forget assists. He just needs a goal, and he'll get some confidence again. And I used to have this thing when I was a kid where I felt like if I got a player on the back of my shirt, that I'd absolutely curse them, and that's kind of gone away as I've got older. But my dad's never sure on Leon Bailey, even after last season. And I didn't do this on purpose, but I went to get him a shirt at the start of the season, so he had his shirt for the first game of the season. Obviously, he doesn't move great, so I went down to the shop to get him one and get my girlfriend's kids a shirt as well. And only way he mentioned like Champions League badge that he should get a shirt with the Champions League badge on, and the only way at the time I could get him a shirt with the Champions League badge on in his size was to get one that was already made up in the shop with Bailey on the back. So I've got him. So my dad, who is probably the slowest person going around Villa Park, he's like walking around with 31 Bailey on his back, but obviously going very, very slowly, like not walking well. And I feel like it's had a factor on Leon Bailey. I feel like it might have played a part.
It's rubbing off. It's rubbing off on the man himself.
Yeah. I always say when he's struggling to get through the aisle and people are moving out of the way to let him through, I said, don't worry, it's not Leon Bailey, it's just my dad. Because I don't think any other 72, 73-year-old man is walking around with 31 Bailey on the back of the head. He wasn't happy about it, in all honesty. He appreciated the shirt, but he wasn't happy with having the name on the back at his age, and I don't think he was very pleased it was Bailey either.
Oh, that's brilliant. 71. How old is he? 71? 73.
73. He's 72 or 73. I can't remember how old he is, but yeah, he's 72 or 73. People would have seen him hobbling around Villa Park and me carrying him to his seat every week. Right, we'll move on to the second half in a minute. Let's hear a little bit more about NordVPN before we do. The chances of this working are very, very slim because I'm controlling. 1874 is proudly sponsored by NordVPN, so when you can't watch it, we want to help you. NordVPN is a secure and private service which works on pretty much any device, including your laptop, mobile, television. So if you want to watch some live content, it allows you to appear like you're in another country. And whilst you're connected, no one else can find out what you're doing, including your internet service provider. Beyond this, the service also has threat protection baked in to protect you from intrusive website ads and malware, which is pretty handy for you. As part of NordVPN support performance for free, this also includes Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. All you've got to do is go to 1874.io/NordVPN and sign up. All the details are also in the description. As always, we're very grateful to anyone that signs up. We know that money is tight, but if you think NordVPN will help you out, it will also help keep the channel running and help us too. I'm not sure whether we were on the screen throughout the entirety of that, Greg. Did you see those two little boxes? Did that come up on your screen? I don't know whether people could see it. By the looks of the comments, that they could. I don't know whether you noticed, Greg, but there was the whole time that advert ran, we were in a little box.
Oh right. Oh no, I didn't. I'm glad I didn't do anything naughty then.
Yeah, whilst that was playing as well, Super Sid says seems reasonably high maintenance. I'm not sure whether he's talking about Leon Bailey or my dad. If he's talking about my dad, you're right. You should be grateful because I did buy him a shirt. And hello to Kari as well, who's saying, "Hey Dan and Greg, 1 a.m. in California."
Good commitment that is.
Get to bed, Kari. Come on, you don't want to be listening to me.
Surely we've sent him to sleep on tomorrow. In my heart.
Yeah, you can definitely pick this up. We've also got some NordVPN love here from Jonathan Ridgway, who I presume must have used our NordVPN code. Says, I use NordVPN to watch Villa replays on Peacock. It's also great for watching Jamie O'Hara on American reality TV shows where he tries to find true love.
Interesting.
So I worked with Jamie O'Hara a few weeks ago at TalkSport. He didn't say anything about that show. So yeah, I'll ask him about that next time I see him. Let's move on to the second half. Then Gregg, and I say about games following patterns. Like, how many games has Ollie Watkins, and how many games has he just scored important goals? Him and Duran this season, the points they must have won Villa with their goals. The fact that Villa have these two centre forwards is just absolutely amazing. What a header that is! That isn't an easy header at all. The way he kind of had to arch down and move his head, and it was a thunderous one as well, wasn't it?
A brilliant header, yeah, and there were quite a few near post or near post-ish corners, wasn't there?
Coming loads.
Quite a few, and clearly, look, they were working on something, and then it came off, didn't it? Brilliant header. Brilliantly executed. It really surprised me actually when it went in. I couldn't believe he'd executed it so well. But yeah, we were speaking a couple of weeks ago, well, maybe a month or so ago, weren't we, saying as soon as Watkins got that goal, he'd just go on a run, and I think he's got 5 in 6, is it something like that? 5 goals in 6 games.
Got 5 in the Premier League now, yeah.
Yeah, so again, his numbers are just flying up already. I think I read something last night from Emil Heskey saying that he thinks Ollie Watkins is the best striker in the Premier League behind Erling Haaland. So,
well, I'd agree with that.
Would you? Yeah.
I think that's definitely true. Who else?
Yeah, just trying to think off the top of my head, but yeah, no, I suppose he's right, isn't he?
I was again. I get hammered in the comments for this all the time, but I was working and I was talking to Darren Bent before my show on Talksport the other week, and he said Villa have got 2 of the top 5 strikers in the Premier League in their squad, and he had Watkins second as well behind Haaland. And
I suppose his numbers, you can't really knock it, can you?
Certainly it's just the consistency. Just the consistency, isn't it? As well. Now you know exactly what you're going to get, and I don't know if it's 9 or 10, but he's very, very close to Gabby's Premier League record now. You'd think, all being well and things continuing the way that they are, that he will break that this season.
Yeah, I mean, you think so? There's plenty of games left for him this season, and he's in no rush to go anywhere. He spoke after the game, didn't he? Said it's great to be a part of this team, playing Champions League football as well, and just kicking on and moving on up. I think if you're a Villa player now, you're delighted, aren't you? You've got all the facilities at Bodymore Heath, and you're all on very high contracts now, very high salaries, on decent contracts as well. And you're enjoying your football and playing lots of football because there's so many games. I mean, the next week alone, Villa have got three home games coming up now, and all of a sudden Villa could be as good as win tomorrow. Win on tomorrow, is it, or Wednesday? Yeah, tomorrow. Win tomorrow. Villa are as good as qualified from the Champions League now. Then win on Saturday and you're potentially in the top 3, and then win on the following Wednesday into the quarterfinals of the League Cup. By the end of October, it's just looking so sweet for Villa at the moment.
Yeah, when you say qualify for the Champions League, if they win, they won't obviously guarantee that they're in.
Well, I mean, you're going to be in the top 20. You're going to be in the top, but you're not going to be in the bottom 4, rather.
No. I mean, I think the fact that they've won those first 2 games makes it pretty much impossible for us not to get into the kind of middle rung.
The aim now is to get into the top 8, isn't it? Yeah, and avoid a playoff game, and but also just make a real stance and say, look, we're here to stay now, guys. There's a lot of clubs that have been around for a good few years, but the win over Bayern would have sent shockwaves across other countries, I'm sure. And it's a case of now, Villa to really give it a go at getting in that top 8 and then kicking on from there.
Yeah, we'll say as well, whilst we've been talking, I know it's Adam Bates giving it the big one in the comments. 1, you should be producing this show. I shouldn't be having to press everything. 2, if you're going to give it the big one, make sure you set the titles up right before the show starts, because I've tried to change it, and obviously I don't think it's worked, but Adam has set up the title wrong for this podcast. So if you're wondering why the title's so awry, that's Adam Bates' fault. So you give him some abuse in the comments if he's still hanging around, giving it the big one in there. So obviously Villa are 2-1 up. Gregg, things are going very well, and then just after that, Joachim Andersen gets sent off. Red card?
Yeah, I think so. There was 3 incidents like that over the weekend, wasn't there? Probably 2 got sent off and 1 didn't. Yeah, Saliba, Andersen, and Saliba, Andersen, and was it Colwill yesterday?
Was it Colwill? Was it Possum?
God, I can't remember.
I think it might be Tosin.
Tosin, sorry, it was. Yeah. You know, he should have been sent off as well, probably.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I think the defenders around. I think the defenders around. Yeah,
perhaps there were defenders around, but oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but it felt at the time it looked like it looked very similar to Saliba's. So
yeah, I mean, Arsenal fans.
I'll have to see it back. I haven't watched it back. Apologies, but yeah,
Arsenal fans will be kicking off about it. They do keep going down to 10 men though. Arsenal don't they? I mean,
look, this is another issue, isn't it? This is another issue that we can talk about. Villa have got their house in order. They're a very compact team. They're not looking like they're going to lose games because, as I said earlier, the XG against very low. Not really, dominating games, seeing off teams when they need to. Going behind and not losing is really important. With Arsenal, I do think Arsenal are a better team than Villa. I think they showed that when they beat them this season, and also over the course of last season and going into this season. But there are some issues there for Arsenal. You can't just keep getting players sent off. Yeah, some of them have been unlucky, but they're just not as in check as they should be. And very quickly, they're losing major ground on the title race because. Liverpool have won 10 out of 11 in all competitions. They don't look like they've conceded 3 goals in the Premier League. They don't look like they're going to concede goals and lose many points this season. Man City, they just always seem to find a way. Yesterday was just a joke, wasn't it? How? But I genuinely didn't think it was coming at that point because it literally was the last kick of the game, wasn't it? Or almost. And you just think, how have they done it again? But that's just how wonderful that team are. They always find a way. So Arsenal are now 4 points behind. 4 points behind Man City and 5 behind Liverpool. I think that's a lot to catch up after just 8 games, and it's just opened up the opportunities a bit more for Villa and Brighton. I think who are 2 excellent teams as well.
I've got a question for you, Greg. You were around Christmas time very forthright that Villa were in the title race.
Yeah.
Do you think, because you're more neutral than me and I'm obviously biased, do you think Villa, it's probably too early to say, but do you think Villa are in the title race?
I mean, yeah, at this moment. Yeah,
you love that answer. Do you think they can do? Okay, then do you think they
can sustain it? Is the major question, and I'm saying, most of my day work now is on Liverpool, and that's the big question around Liverpool more so, who are top of the league. Can Liverpool sustain the title charge? So we just way too early, and I'm sounding a bit like a manager now, which is horrible, but you just need. Am I? It's just Jim went. I'm just. It's just such a small sample size, 8 games. You need so much more time. You will know more around about Christmas time. But the key for Villa is they were right in it, I think, up until sort of February, March time last year.
Yeah.
The aim for Villa is to sustain it for a little bit longer. If they can get to sort of April time and still be talking potentially about the title. I mean, what an amazing season that's going to have been. So yeah, they're in it now, but are they going to win it? I don't think so. Will they sustain it for longer than last year? Perhaps. Will it go to the distance? I don't think so.
No, there's no doubting. If Villa have a bit more luck with injuries this season than they did last, even if they don't, I suppose they are generally stronger. They've got just fantastic depth now and way more options than they had last season. Greg, just those little bits of quality that they can bring off the bench now, regardless. And they did that against Fulham on Saturday, giving people minutes. Of course, they finished off the game 3-1. Luca Digne. Issa Diop, I think it might have been his first touch. He'd just come on, and he decided to slice one into his own net from a Luca Digne.
He used to be really good, didn't he, Diop?
Did he?
I used to really rate him. Yeah, I mean,
you must have watched him in France then, because he's not done anything in England.
No, he was good for West Ham for a season, wasn't he? Yeah, and all the top clubs in the Premier League were having a look after his first season. Remember, Man United, who at the time weren't quite as bad as they were now. You have a look back. I know for sure because I was speaking to people within the industry, and they were telling me that a lot of the top clubs were looking at him. But then he just tailed off, and obviously moved to Fulham, and hasn't been the defender that sort of many expected after that first season.
Yeah, Sam Bates saying, I think November will show us the level we're at and where we could finish. think that's probably we've got some.
Yeah,
I mean, every week, I feel like every week you learn more about this team. Like I said, people will have watched the preview who are watching this. I thought this would be a really tough game at Craven Cottage. I think Fulham are a good team. I think Marco Silva's a really good manager. I think that might have been their first defeat at Craven Cottage this season as well. Greg, so it's a great result to go there and win 3-1. Villa lost a man as well. Philogene again. I think it's probably a second yellow on the face of it. I don't think I'd argue too much against that.
Not sure it was. I didn't think it looked. I mean, it looked.
But to me, it just looked where it was, though. I think that makes it a second yellow.
I just think maybe he just went down too easy for me. I thought it was really, really light, really soft. But I suppose these things happen. I mean, look, it's a great start for Villa, isn't it? In fact, it's the best start for 26 years, I think, in the Premier League. So that says it all. Villa continue to sort of rewrite the history under Emery. Just have a real clear game plan now, and enough quality players to get them over the line. So it's going to be an exciting few weeks. 3 games at home now, hopefully a chance for some of the supporters that don't always get to go to the home games to go and maybe see the team against Palace in the Cup next week.
On you as well, because I think they're still tickets.
Yeah, a couple of my friends who aren't season ticket holders, but who can't really afford to add a season ticket and with their kids on, but would like to take their kids occasionally going to the Bologna game. So they're really excited about that. I think we'll probably see a few changes, won't we? Maybe Maatsen will come in and expect Duran to probably get a start. I think it's about time that
do you think that's? I've called it a couple of times for the odd game and got it wrong. Do you think
he probably will tomorrow? It feels like the right time, doesn't it? Tomorrow. But I mean, Bologna are a decent team. Don't underestimate them. I watched them against Liverpool. They caused them a lot of problems. Their game plan basically for Liverpool was to man mark all over the pitch, and it was the first time that Liverpool had come up against that for certainly under Slot, but for quite some time. It caused them actually quite a lot of problems because they had to use the goalkeeper a lot. A lot, and I mean a lot, because he was the only man that was spare so often. They literally man marked all over the pitch, and then you've just got the only way to get around that is to win your individual battles, and Liverpool eventually did that. So it'd be interesting to see what Bologna do. They've lost quite a few of their players, obviously, over the summer, but still a decent team.
It's interesting you think Duran will start, because I've got to say, it did cross my mind. It probably crosses my mind every game, or maybe this is one where
it's
Duran.
It's time, isn't it? It's just time. I just think
it's start at some point.
It's just time. It's just time for him to. I mean, maybe actually looking a little bit deeper into it, he might not, because of the travel that he's just had in South America. That might still be taking a little bit of its toll, and perhaps the additional time resting might actually benefit him. But I'm not sure. I just feel like it's his time.
Did you say that? Did you say obviously scored for Colombia in the last break? Did you say that Colombia away shirt, the Adidas one? Oh, that's a nice.
I like it.
That's a nice bit of kit. That I wouldn't mind getting my hands on that. I imagine it's very expensive though.
Get yourself down Wellsbourne Market.
Where's that? What's that?
Does that still exist?
I don't know what it is.
It's a market that sells a load of fake stuff.
Oh no, I can't be doing that.
I was taken there as a kid. I don't know if it still exists.
I'm a shirt connoisseur, Greg. I won't be delving into the fakes market.
But the fake shirt market's massive now, actually, isn't it? There's
big on the podcast advocating it, Greg, because it's probably not legal, I would say.
No, I mean it's a big thing. There have been articles. I read an article on the BBC about it. They did a big vox pop during the Euros. Asking people about fake shirts, and the amount of people that said they were wearing fake shirts was incredible. It's a huge market now.
Okay. Interesting. Just back to the John Duran thing, because as I said, I've said it a few times. I think maybe he might start this one. I think it was it what game was before Bayern? Was it Wolves before Bayern? We had Wolves and then Bayern. I can't remember, but I thought maybe Watkins will sit out that Premier League game and play the Champions League one. But
Ipswich, wasn't it? Ipswich.
Maybe we had Connor on a few weeks ago, or last week in the international break, and he was saying, obviously he knows Watkins. He played with him for a bit. He was saying that Watkins obvious as well, but Watkins won't like being subbed off, and he won't it if he doesn't play. And you kind of think, I can see the merit for maybe playing Duran in this one on Tuesday, although you'd think he'd definitely start the Crystal Palace game next week. But Watkins isn't going to want to sit on the bench in the Champions League because he's done so much to get us there. So I don't know whether Emery will take Watkins out. Watkins is in the midst of a good run of form as well. Just scored the winner at the weekend, and we know he does then tend to score in streaks. I'm not sure you can take Watkins out and play around for this one.
I'm not sure. I just feel like it's time for him to have a go. I think he might.
I feel like you know something. That's my
no. I genuinely don't. I take Connor's point on Watkins and his frustration if he keeps coming off on 65 minutes because all of a sudden you're losing 25-30% of your playing time. 30% of your playing time, and going to lose the opportunity of maybe having one or two chances a game there, and that could be that those moments that you get extra goals. So if you're only playing 65 minutes every week, it's a massive difference to only playing 90. And then when you're judged at the end of the season on the amount of goals that you've scored, but your minutes are much lower. So take both of your points on that.
Yeah, be interesting. I'm always interested to see the team, but at the moment, I keep thinking there'll be changes for games. He'll rest someone. He'll put someone in. I keep thinking Maatsen will start a game, and it keeps not happening. So Emery is he's pretty consistently picking his team. At the moment,
comment in this section from B Donna. We're going to try Watkins left wing, a position he can play well, and the assist the other day for England shows his quality in the position, and Duran up top. Just reminds me a little bit of the time under the previous manager to Emery with Watkins out left. It felt like they tried that a little bit more, didn't they, to try and get Watkins and Ings together. Okay, it worked at times. He got the odd goal from that position, but I just think where he is now for Villa, he's just his best position, and there's no real need to try and squeeze Watkins and Duran together. You just got to accept that Villa will be better without the two of them together. They just don't. The starting 11 is better without Watkins and Duran together, and you just have to deal with that. There's no need to force it when Villa are winning games without it.
If they do it, and Emery has worked on this behind the scenes, I don't know if he's come up with anything yet. If they do it, it'll be 4-4-2 for a game. They won't play with the number 10. They'll play with
you can't because you can't do it.
Watkins won't play
so much out. You lose so much elsewhere across the pitch. Then it's just I can't see it happening very often because it just doesn't work. And why change a winning team just to try and get two players in?
No, it doesn't work from the fact of the left-hand side for Villa. The person that plays in that position, they're kind of seen as a number 10. And that Ollie Watkins isn't a number 10. So I just don't, it won't happen just because of that, in my opinion. Gregg Evans, man of the match for this one before we go?
For the last game?
The Fulham game, yeah.
Oh, Luca Digne, probably, wasn't it? Yeah.
Luca Digne. I'd go along with that. I mean, honourable mention to Tillemans, who is just for me has been Villa's player of the season so far. Just so consistent, just brilliant again in that midfield. But I think I'll go along with Luca Digne as well. And I just want to talk about is that Carlos pass in the first half.
Oh my word!
What a pass that was! What a unbelievable
against
pass.
the team that he almost joined as well. Funny story with Carlos, isn't it?
He's gone good again, hasn't he? He's gone good.
Yeah. I mean, he would have thought he was he thought he was out the door, so must have been hard for him to try and get a little bit of rhythm back. But fair play to him. He stepped it up again, and he's been a big part of the games that Villa have won. Over the times that are really memorable, hasn't it?
That pass, it was just everything about it was perfect. The technique, the speed of it, he's landed right where Luca Digne would have wanted the way of passing. It was just absolutely perfect. I think that's probably pass of the season from Villa so far. And that's amazing when he's playing next to Pau Torres. And
he's been learning off Torres, hasn't he?
That was actually the Torres' pass to Duran was the pass of the season so far that we scored a goal off. But that was in the Premier League. That was the pass of the season. It was absolutely incredible. And just a quick mention, we talked about Villa's strength and depth on the bench. Great to see Boubacar Kamara back on the bench. He didn't get on, and everyone's kind of fit except for Olsen now. Mm-hmm. You realise that, if everyone stays fit, someone really good isn't going to get on the bench. And, this week it was Tyrone Mings.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, isn't it? Villa Jean will be suspended for the next game, so he'll drop out. And look, I think Villa are going to have so many games that it'll be fine. They'll all still travel to the games, I presume, because they always need a 19th Is that right? 19, yeah. The 20th man now, isn't it? Yeah.
And they always take a keeper and no, it's 20 subs anyway, isn't it? 20 in the match.
20 now? Of course, it's 9 subs, isn't it now?
9
yeah.
plus 11, yeah.
God, I've just always known it. Sorry, forgive me. I've just always referred to it as the 19th man because it was always a match day squad of 18. But yeah, of course, it's the 21st man now.
Yeah, and they always have another keeper travelling around as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Just in case of 22 travel.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes a couple of kids as well, just to give them the experience of being around a match day squad. But yeah, Tyrone's time will come, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd think him and Kamara are bankers for the Palace game to get some form.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to see them both.
Kamara will start that one, I would think, but things will be in and around it as well. Anyway, we're jumping ahead because we wanted to do previews for these games as well. Right then, Greg, thank you very much for joining me today. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Really enjoyable, especially off the back of another Villa win in London. Thank you to those that have joined us live, probably more than I expected this morning, actually, have joined us. So thank you very much for the interaction.
Yeah, it's good commitment from the live audience today.
Especially the 1 a.m. people.
Yeah, shout out to the 1 a.m.ers.
Yeah, the 1 a.m. crew. Right then, thank you. Did I thank NordVPN? I can't even remember. And if you're listening via audio, do the things I bang on about every week. And if you're watching via YouTube, if you give us a like and a comment as well, that would really, really help us. We'll be a match preview for the Bologna game at some point as well. So watch out for that. Plenty of content through the week because it's a busy week for Aston Villa Football Club. Have a good Monday. Hope your Monday treats you well. And as always, up the Villa.